So for all of you that don't know, I'm a League of Legends player with a peak of about Diamond 4 this season. I'd consider myself good at the game, but not great or an expert like the players you're watching at Worlds at the moment. So how would a player like me get to a status as high as top 10, I actually believe the peak was 7, Kai'Sa on the European server, being higher than the likes of Reckless and G2's Hijanen, sorry if I butchered that, even after 70 to 80 games? And how could you guys do exactly the same with other new champions and champions reworks, just with a general understanding of the game? Okay, so the rank system that I'm using is League of Graphs. It's linked within Pyrofessor.gg and it's pretty reliable. It takes into consideration your rank, your KDA, your win rate, and the amount of games played up to 100. So I'd say it's pretty reliable, as reliable as you're going to get really when it comes to finding out what rank you are on just one specific champion. Okay, so with all that out the way, let's get on to a few tips that I have for you guys. So the first one is play a lot of fucking games and don't sleep till you get rank 1. Okay, I joke around, but there is an element of truth to what I say. You do need to play a lot of games straight away. Pretty much every game that the champion isn't banned or that isn't picked, you should be picking this champion and trying to learn and teach yourself the 3 core aspects of the champion. So you're probably asking yourself, so what are these 3 core aspects of the champion then?
Fair enough, and I'll tell you.
So the 3 categories are laning, build, and her role or their role in a late game situation. So let's start off with the first one, which is laning. Is she or he or they a lane bully? Do they have good or bad wave clear? Is she late game scaling or, as I said before, a lane bully? And this all matters because it obviously defines how you should be playing the champion and what you should be going for. If it's an early game champion, you want to be trying to abuse your lead and snowball it and roam around the map and spread your lead around the map. Whilst if your champion needs 2 or 3 items like Kai'Sa or a Camille, I'd recommend you play more preserved and try to lose as little as possible, calling out roams, pinging your team away from fights so that you know they can't win. And as I said, losing as little as possible, trying to mitigate your losses. So when you've got 2 or 3 items, you're not too far behind that it doesn't matter that you should have overtaken them in scaling. Now you might be congratulating me for being Captain Obvious, but you would be surprised how many people actually don't stick to the strengths and more importantly the weaknesses of the champions that you're playing once you get in game. You have to stay focused and remember the weaknesses and make sure that you don't try and play to your champion's weaknesses, because then you'll get abused and that's where you'll get behind, and that is far more important. Not getting behind is far more important than trying to get ahead, in my opinion. Now that that's out of the way, the mindset that you want to be going for when it comes to figuring out a build for your champion before any professional player has, really surfaced with one is, for example, with Kai'Sa, I knew and everyone pretty much knew that straight away that Rageblade would be a must-have on her. I don't think anyone didn't see that coming. But I did start with Doran's Ring after a few games after realising the AP ratios on all of her kit mixed with the AP ratio on Fleet Footwork, as well as being able to wave clear really reliably with her Q and giving you the mana back could give you a lot of pressure. Even though she's not an early game monster or a lane bully by any means, she can push a lot of champions in dependent on the matchup, but there are like 50% of matchups where you can push them in due to these Doran's Ring start. And this is all because I really sat down and looked at the champion and thought about it instead of just following the trends and following what we know from other ADCs. I really started again and really innovated from the beginning. And you might be thinking, well, Kai'Sa's like a one-off because she is really different in comparison to loads of ADCs, but just look at Urgot with the spell book at the moment. It's really strong, but nothing changed. People just figured it out after all this time. There's always strategies to be figured out on certain champions, even if they at the surface seem really basic. But I could talk a lot from my point of view when it came to Kai'Sa in this section, but I feel like what I'm trying to get across is that you shouldn't be scared of being wrong. Build Banshee's Veil, second item on Kai'Sa if it's a good item for the game, if you're against 4 AP, if you're against a LeBlanc. Did it really lower your damage that much that it doesn't warrant the defensive capabilities that the item brings you? And just, make that decision for yourself. Create a playstyle for yourself. Really make this champion your own. You'll always be a step behind the best if you wait for them to figure out how you should be playing the game. So you should figure out your own style for your champion. As I said, really make this champion your own. And obviously the third topic, as I mentioned earlier, is your role late game. So as Kai'Sa, I wouldn't get one shot, always dive into the backline if we had like 2 champions that were going to be diving on the backline as well. For example, Alice to Vlad. I knew that I could easily join them whilst they're diving the enemy's backline with my ultimate, where I wouldn't get one shot, and try and help them destroy their backline carries, for example Misfortune Azure, and I abused this ability in an aggressive manner and it worked because what you have to remember is that you are going to be playing so many games on this new champion that these people have only really played against them like 2 or 3 times, that you are going to have so much more knowledge about them. You're going to know exactly what you have to do, and they, the more important aspect of this, they are not going to know what you can do realistically, and that is going to be your biggest weapon. It's almost like the element of surprise, right? They really don't know what to expect. They don't know that this Kai'Sa is going to dive past 4 champions as an ADC and blow everyone up. They don't know that this Zoe is going to throw a bubble out of nowhere and blow them up. It's a lot of knowledge that they just don't have yet. They don't expect it because it's not really been done before, and a lot of the reworks and champions at the moment that are coming out have never really been done before. Now, a last thing that I want to mention is that these 3 core concepts are really just a base for you guys to really start thinking about your champion, and you can go in more in depth and you can think about more aspects. And obviously there's mechanics, but I didn't really want to talk about that specifically, as each champion is different and some will have not that many mechanics, whilst a champion like Ezreal or Lucian will have quite a lot of different ways you can play things out. But I hope you enjoyed the video. This is my first kind of discussion video, and you should expect a lot more on the channel starting from now, so I hope you guys enjoy this kind of video, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.